And welcome back. He's winning gold in wrestling worldwide, and I've never won anything in my life. Here to kick my ass is Stevan Micic. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
For sure. Now, I gotta be honest. I'm like sports illiterate to a degree, so forgive me if I say something stupid throughout this conversation.
Yeah.
And what's interesting to me is when I saw your face flood my feed, when you won what you won, which we'll get into in a little bit, I didn't know wrestling went beyond the school level. I just thought WWE. So when I saw your face, I'm like, all right, cool. So what's his stage name? What's the tagline? Do they call you Meech?
They call me Big Meech. No.
Yeah, Big Meech.
No, they call. International, like Olympic wrestling is like the highest pinnacle of wrestling.
Okay.
And what makes it really confusing actually is in the U.S. there's a style. It's called folk style, and that's only done in the U.S. and it's done like what's done in high school and college level.
Okay.
And so which at the Olympic level, it's freestyle, Greco-Roman, and women's freestyle. Mm-hmm. So there's two styles.
Women are wrestling each other?
Women, yeah, it's women's wrestling for.
Not mud wrestling?
Not mud wrestling. Oh. No oil wrestling. Just. Yeah, I know. But it's the same as freestyle, and freestyle is the most popular in the entire world.
Okay.
It's what's done in pretty much every country, and that's what's the most popular. The other style is Greco-Roman, and that's what Srdjan is really good at doing.
Okay.
It's a traditional sport, and it's kind of what has the Olympics, like the Olympic style sport, which is done like back, thousands of years ago in the first Olympic Games or whatever it is. It's because it's like that traditional, you can't use your legs, your standing's up straight.
I was going to ask what the technique difference is between them all.
Greco-Roman is a little bit more, it's not as exciting, and also the U.S. sucks at it. We're not very good at Greco here. So in folk style and freestyle are very near. So, they're easy to be good at both.
You're not folk style.
No, not folk style. No folk, no folklore here.
All
but
right.
it's kind of like the U.S. is like, folk style of wrestling. That's why we call it that. And yeah, it's only done there.
When I think of folk style wrestling in U.S., I think redneck fights.
When I heard about it, because I actually learned freestyle first, which is kind of uncommon here because folk style is kind of like trumps the rest, and freestyle, we're good at it too, and it's exciting, but it's because we're really good at folk style and you can attack the legs and you're doing kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just when you get like top and bottom is what's different.
Gotcha.
And the whole exposing your back thing's a little bit different. Folk style, I would say, is a little more similar with like grappling or jiu-jitsu because it's a little more like you're trying to hold the guy down and for longer, and it gets a little more, I think it's a little bit more boring. And if they changed college to freestyle, it would be crazy exciting. It's just we have that culture of, no one transitions straight into freestyle because you get a scholarship for it. So that's kind of why it is the way it is.
Are certain matches for certain types of techniques, or like you yourself are using certain techniques just to get to the end result?
I get what you're saying. So like if you were to like say wrestle if you're in a folk style match, there are things you kind of have to like gear up in a mindset, and usually it's because you're in a season at a school. You're not like changing any, you know what you have to do for that. It's not like you're doing both at the same time or like tournaments. Like if you're in a college season, you're locked in. But right now is actually kind of a different spot. A lot of the U.S. guys are there's Olympic trial stuff, qualifiers going on right now.
Okay.
And so a lot of these college guys that are good enough to compete and try to make the Olympic team that might be at the age of college, they're actually, right now during this Christmas, there's the U.S. Open's happening, I think this weekend actually, for the U.S. guys.
Nice.
So guys competing there are trying to qualify a spot for the Olympic trials for the USA in April.
Are the Serbs puppy guarding you that you can't? Are you exclusive to them?
I'm exclusive. So how it works is you are exclusive to one place, but you get one change. If you've wrestled in like an age group for the UWW United Wrestling Federation, if you wrestle in an age group event, continental or world championship event from age group up, you technically are like that's your country. If you didn't do it, you can like say if I had
be
to
a freelancer.
You can only pick that first country.
Okay.
So for me, I made a cadet team at 17 for the USA and a junior team at 20 for the US. But after that, I decided to change to wrestle for Serbia. Okay. So they came to me and talked with me. Well, we'll get into that.
We will, yes.
But that's what happened was I had to take that time, you have to pay a fee, and you sit 2 years from the last time you competed.
Okay.
If it's over 2 years, you obviously can just wrestle that next year that you get citizenship, and no more switching. You're done. You can't. You're stuck. And you can never, anyways. You can't be jumping back and forth. Anyways, you're just that's your
Right.
what country you represent.
For sure. Now, let's kick it back to the very, very beginning. Now, where are you originally from?
I'm from Northwest Indiana, the region near Chicago. It's
Indiana.
Yeah, 219. We're a suburb, I guess, of Chicago.
Yeah.
We have a lot of Serbs. It's enough Serbs.
Right,
So,
right.
I grew up there. My dad being, he actually was born here.
Okay.
So I'm second generation.
So where is everyone from back home?
Republika Srpska. They're
too.
from near Bijeljina.
So where is your selo?
My dad is from Amalije, which is really
Okay.
small,
Yeah.
and my baba's from Dvorovi. That's where the root is. Obviously, I have
Nice.
family in Beograd now.
Right.
My Micic side, she's Mihailovic, but Micic side's in Beograd now. They've moved from Amalije out,
Mm-hmm.
and then I have some other Mihailovic near Sarajevo area too.
Gotcha.
So I'm kind of spread through the Balkans a little bit.
Right. Wow. Small freaking world.
Yeah.
Growing up in school, what were some of the first sports that you tried, like in Park District,
Yeah.
if you did Park District?
Okay, so, this wasn't Park District, but my dad really loved golf, and he wanted me to golf. So that was something that I always did, and I was probably better at wrestling than wrestling until I was like 12.
Oh, okay. Like golf on the
golf.
course, or like mini golf?
Like Tiger Woods golf.
Oh, all right.
I wasn't like that. I was good. I was really good. I could have been good, but I chose. I turned down millions for wrestling. No.
And I was gonna say, I'm like, well, you got to get your aggression out somehow. So beating other people's ass is probably the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. But no, I think I would say I did soccer, and like school soccer. I did. Also, I really like combat sports though. Karate was like what I tried first, and I was like, at first you learn form, you do all this stuff, and I'm like, when am I gonna kick someone's ass?
Well, yes, I thought that too when I was forced into Taekwondo.
Okay.
And I'm a Taekwondo proud dropout.
Really?
I would pray for the day my dad would forget to take me.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's cool. Like when you see the Olympic sport and what it gets to, it's just kind of like very basic stuff. And so wrestling, I brought home a flyer. My dad never wrestled. My baba and dada never wanted my uncle to wrestle, which is funny because my uncle's actually a black belt in jiu-jitsu. Like we're very like all combat-esque, like family, but we just never had the.
What do they call it? Expendables?
Yeah.
Was that movie with all the with the main guys in it from like different fighting styles?
Yeah, we've got like all of them. Yeah, no,
Right.
I'm kidding, but we have. Yeah, he's jiu-jitsu. My dad did a little bit of that. He dabbled with my uncle, and then I just picked up wrestling. I wanted to do it, and so I started wrestling at our feeder district school, which is our town in Cedar Lake, Hanover Central, my high school that I went to, has had like a lot of good individuals come through that program.
Okay.
So it was a good kids program. I got introduced to it that way, and then from there I was kind of able to progress and get better and better and better.
Right.
I won a couple state titles as a kid, which was pretty good. And then having the Chicagoland area where you have some of the best wrestling in the country out of Chicago.
Right.
We have Midwest is always is a hub for
High
wrestling.
contender.
Yeah. And just having like Chicago in general is like a big city. You got a lot of different places you can get everywhere within an hour from each other. Have a lot of really good training sessions and. Yeah, so I got really good. And my dad obviously learned a lot. I had goals to be the best, to be a world champion, an Olympic champion, probably around the age of 11, 12 years old, where I was
Time out.
Yeah.
When did you start?
I started when I was 7 or 8.
Okay, so what attracted you to the sport at such a young age to be like, hey, Dad, I want to go fight people now?
Yeah, so I don't know. Like I said, I like combat sports. I used to watch Power Rangers on TV.
Oh, God.
I wanted to fight.
Right.
I was just
say no more.
Yeah. So I just was always that guy. But my mom didn't think I was gonna make it much. I had 2 younger sisters, and they're like, "Don't mess with Ivan and Tatiana. They're whatever. You're kind of soft. You're too nice with them." And little do they know now what it turned into.
That
Exactly. So I think. I would say when you get good at doing something and you like winning, like I won my first state title, I was 10. So it was about 2 or 3 years in, I was like, oh, I won in Indiana. Like, this is really good. This is a big accomplishment. You're kind of
So that adrenaline rush of winning, right?
Yeah, and like I said, I could have done soccer. I did it in school. I was like, well, this team sucks, and I don't really feel like doing. I could get good. Yeah, I could get good at going with league or something like that because I kind of had some promise there. But it was just like I had the opportunity from other things, and I turned it all down for wrestling kind of thing. And I'm like, I don't know. I feel like in a way it was like that. I almost think it was like a little bit of a God-sent thing for me because I'm like, why would I do that if I knew this wasn't my calling?
Right, exactly. With wrestling, I don't know, man. It's like, I don't know how I could be like all up in people's grills like that.
Yeah.
Like all up in their business.
Yeah, I get it. It's definitely something when you're young you get kind of used to and like learn because it's, like learning how to take somebody down, right? Learn how to wrestle. And it's not like, it's really fine. It's just like some people don't have the comfort level to do that. I mean, for me, it was kind of quick. I mean, it doesn't really take much to learn. It's when you're introduced at 8, something at 8, it's kind of natural
second nature,
instinct. Yeah. And even for a lot of, my family's even used to it now, like with like all of that. So.
Have you injured yourself at any point in time?
I have had a lot of injuries, but nothing like, luckily, knock on wood, I haven't had any surgery from wrestling, per se. You get, I've had like 1 or 2 concussions, which weren't very serious, very basic. Okay. Through my like 20 years of wrestling, I've had a couple knee like MCLs. Actually, my PCL doesn't exist. It's opposite ACL. It's loose, but you're functional without it.
Without it, yeah.
And then I'm trying to think. My other worst thing actually, I had in my neck, I had a herniated disc. So that was probably the scariest thing, where it's like a stinger in your neck and like your nerves go.
Yeah.
And I had like 35 pounds of strength in this hand from squeezing compared to like this was at 100. So I could barely like pour water or milk in a bowl.
So what would a treatment
What
look
they
like?
did was they had to give me what is it called?
Cortisone shot?
The cortisone shot, in my neck, and I had to like take a break. It was actually the year before my first Olympic Games, so it was kind of scary, like especially with the time being like, oh, I can't.
Are you going to perform at full capacity, kind of thing?
Yeah, and it ended up being fine. I healed up fine, and it was early enough out to where. Now I have to just be careful with neck stuff. Wrestling, you don't realize your neck's involved in a lot of.
I mean, you're like a fucking contortionist, going all up in in different positions and being flexible. So it's like I can only imagine like how you're being twisted. It could really affect certain areas of your body.
Yeah, you have to learn how to take care of your body.
So what do you do to take care of your body?
Well, one thing you have to do is you kind of have to, lifting is actually really important because regardless of like, it doesn't have to be like heavy, but a lot of mobility work and a lot of stretch, stretching is important, like depending like how you stretch right. You don't want to like overstretch, but stretching is important, mobility is really important, and like making sure you're doing some type of lifting to engage muscles. Like for example, getting my glutes or my ankle mobility is important for my knees because it's like you think, oh well, if it's my knees, what do I have to do? Leg stuff. It's like, well, no. If this is the middle point that takes the blows. If your hip or your ankles are weak.
Right.
So it's like you have to do things to kind of keep things strong. Or your shoulders. In wrestling, your shoulders get extended a lot. I'm pretty sure my labrums are torn, but that's not like an uncommon thing. I bet you if you MRI'd most wrestlers, they'd have like a torn labrum.
They'll probably cross themselves after they see the results.
Yeah, I know, right?
Now, going throughout your schooling, you're doing wrestling, you go into college. Where'd you actually go to college?
So I'll go. So from high school, I ended up winning 3 state titles, and then I won I won a national title, and then I made a U.S. team. So like I said, I went to the cadet team, and it was funny. It was actually in Srdjan in Serbia.
No.
Yeah,
Nice.
Which was random, and that's kind of the first time Serbia reached out to me. So that's kind of how the connection happened.
Okay.
They saw Micic. What do you like? What like?
Close to you.
Yeah, exactly. They were like, "What are you doing? Like, you're not being." They were like, "We should wrestle for us," and I was like, "I don't know yet." I was 17. I didn't know anything. So ended up for a year I went to Northwestern.
Okay.
It's close,
Right.
Big Ten school. There's some promise, but honestly, it wasn't really a fit for me. As in. I didn't really like the wrestling program that much. Some stuff with the coaches.
What'd you go to college for?
I didn't know yet.
So it's just gen eds or something?
Yeah, I went in. Actually, I kind of went in to do. And I wanted to do some business path, but in Northwestern, you kind of had to go econ or something like that. So it was really hard.
I'd drop out.
Yeah, it was rough first semester or first year. And school is just kind of like, it was small. I went to a small high school. I was kind of like over the small thing.
Yeah.
So I ended up, it worked out because I found like there was a few different schools I wanted to go to, and I wanted to wrestle in the Big Ten because Big Ten's like a powerhouse for wrestling.
I passed by the building
Yeah,
in Rosemont all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Michigan recruited me, and their coach is actually from Illinois, like the Joliet area, where he grew up, and so I've known him. He had a really successful program in Naperville. Yeah, so known them forever. He took the job as a coach, and I was like ready to go to Michigan. We were, it's one of the best schools for wrestling. It's always a top 5-10 program for wrestling, and it's one of the best academic schools, and it's more of like an overall general fit. Big school, public school.
Right.
You can actually feel like a presence, like you like being at school there. Yeah.
Well, I could only imagine, based on the reputation that the school you mentioned earlier has, that it's a little bit more uppity, prestigious, and
not caring about the athletics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's more of like the status and like the doctor of, all that stuff.
What at the end of the day, a degree from Michigan is it's a very high
when I think Michigan State, I think football.
What's that?
Like sports.
Oh yeah, Michigan or Michigan State football. We both have. Yeah, and at the end of the day, Michigan is like probably one of the best, if not best, public school in the country. Just not including the, Ivies or Stanford or Northwestern. Michigan's like always at the top. The top.
Peak. Yeah.
So even for school, so I ended up getting my degree there in sociology, and then I got my master's degree in sports management.
Nice.
So I was able to get 2 great degrees because of wrestling, and I definitely would not have done that, getting a master's degree.
If you didn't have the support and like.
I would never have went without wrestling.
Be in the environment that you were.
Out of state tuition, none of that would have. I wouldn't have been able to get in probably. So.
Right. Well, you never know.
You never know, but I think in general, I think wrestling for that.
For sure. So in college, you're doing this wrestling thing, and when is Srdjan knocking at your door?
So again. So I made a junior team where I won bronze for the U.S. at the World. So junior world bronze at 20. So that's like U20s is like the age. So right around then I was like, Srdjan kind of talked to me a little bit. I reached out to somebody the year later. It was like my first year at Michigan. I was able to qualify for like an Olympic red shirt, but I was definitely not ready for Rio, that Olympics in 2016.
Right.
I was just kind of like taking the year, I transferred to Michigan, get used to everything, compete in some tournaments.
Did you find it intimidating to do that jump at that point in your life?
Yeah, I would say a little bit because, you don't really know what to expect, especially when people think at a time that you're like running away from like tough competition, from making the U.S. team, when it's really not about that. First of all, the U.S. has it maybe the hardest system to like make the team, even though at the time, I wasn't ready to make any team for the next couple years, probably 2 years, 3 years at minimum.
Right.
I wasn't mature enough to make a senior level team. So in that regards, it was a little bit dumb for anyone to think that moving there. The reason I did it was the opportunity to compete at a world championships that, I can go to a European championships and worlds every year.
It opens up doors when you
when you can compete in it, whether I do good or not, I'm going. And while a guy from the U.S. might never get the chance to go because he doesn't make a spot, he might be the best guy all year, lose in the finals to somebody, that guy goes to the Worlds, you don't go. Right. At least I'm going to the Worlds regardless if I go 0-1 or I win the whole thing. I had the opportunity to go. So for me doing it, and not only that, it was like being Serbian means more to me than just doing that. Like I felt like I could kind of get into my culture even more.
And represent your own people.
Represent my people. That care about me. So that's kind of what happened was I decided to do that in 2017. So 2018, I ended up winning. I was a Big Ten champ for Michigan and was an NCAA runner-up. So I took second at nationals that year.
Was that
Michigan.
Bronze?
At the Europeans. At Europeans. Right. At Europeans, I won. So the first tournament I went to, I wrestled. I went to the Europeans in Dagestan, actually, in Russia. Where all these like
what?
You've heard of Dagestan? It's where all the
No, I've heard of Afghanistan.
Oh, Afghanistan. No,
Pakistan.
Dagestan is like where all of like those like Khabib and fighters are. All those fighters are from in Russia.
Yeah. Okay.
So I went there, wrestled the Russian guy who ended up being the 2-time world champ and Olympic champ that I ended up wrestling again this year. I lost to him there in his home crowd.
Oh.
First match for Serbia.
Okay.
And he ended up winning worlds that year.
Did you have a redemption match in the
This
following
year
year?
I did.
There you go.
This year I did.
Bye,
So,
Felicia.
Yep. So at the end of so that year was my first year for Serbia, and it was great. The opportunity to travel, opportunity to, you know what I mean. That you don't get that if you were in the U.S. You kind of are stuck more in the U.S. circuit, and just more fitting for me of what I want to do.
Right.
Having that.
Expand your horizons a little.
Horizons, and be somewhere I'm comfortable being. In Serbia, I'm like, feels like another home for me.
For sure. So it comes to the Worlds 2023.
Yeah.
And you're beating out all these other previous winners, right?
Yeah.
And here comes Rai.
Rai Higuchi.
Rai.
Japan,
okay.
yeah.
And you talk about techniques, right? And I was watching the match, and I'm like, this guy's literally just dragging himself across the floor. And like you're trying to like get in somewhere and he's not letting you.
Yeah.
What kind of technique is that?
Okay, so every country kind of has their own style of wrestling.
I call that the suction cup.
Japan is like that, where they're very fast. They shoot on the leg, and they're like really tight, and they finish low on the ground.
He was
a lot.
picking up your leg. I thought he was gonna rip your leg off.
He has some of the best. Yeah, he has like one of the best like single leg and like arm drag like sequences. Like go behind or like hit it one single leg, and then on top, like we call it parterre. When you are on top, and they'll let you try to wrestle it or get it exposed, try to expose to your opponent's back for about 10, 15 seconds.
Okay.
If nothing, they'll go back up neutral again, and you wrestle from your feet.
Okay.
But he has one of the best parterre wrestling, pound for pound. So, because he's so like strong and like grippy. He's so like
pretty,
grippy.
Yeah, I was gonna say buff. Yeah.
Yeah. He's shredded. He's like a little machine. So that weight class that I was at, in the quarters, I had a match against that Russian, the one that I wrestled, and he had not lost in 5 years since that point, like since that year, I think was the last time he had lost, up to the point where I beat him this year.
Right.
And that was in my home crowd in Belgrade, where the World Championships.
Yeah.
And then against Japan in the finals, who was a world champion from last year as well, but at the weight above me. Because he was coming down because my weight class is an Olympic category.
Okay.
The weight above me is a non-Olympic weight category.
So you have to like go on a diet?
We have to go on diets. I have to go on a big
What do you
diet.
eat? Yeah, let's talk about that. What the hell do you eat?
Sarma, cevapi.
Oh, okay, well, sign me up.
Right now I am. No, when I'm cutting weight.
I mean, you have like what, 8 months to think about it?
Yeah, I have a little bit. I make weight right for now. I make like once a year because it's a struggle. I'm kind of like one of those in-betweeners where that non-Olympic weight class would be perfect for me.
Yeah.
But the two weight classes in between. There was like this thing with like Olympic wrestling like back 10, 12 years ago where they were going to think about dropping it. And it like, when they did that, it like got enough, it didn't even budge. They were like, yeah, we're keeping wrestling. Like there's not even a question, not going to happen again. But there's 10 weight classes. Every Olympic year, there's 6. And each weight class is about 20 pounds separated from each other, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So it's, for me, I would be perfect for 134. There isn't a 134 weight class.
Okay.
I weigh like around 145 though. So like that, so I have to either go down to 125, which I do.
Okay.
Or wrestle 143, which guys are coming down from 160 or ish. So I'm wrestling people that are like 15, 20 pounds bigger than me if I were to be at the weight class I am. So it's because everyone cuts about 10, 15 pounds or so, more or less. And so it's crazy. Like think about this at the bigger weights. There's a jump from 163 to 189. That's like 30 pounds almost.
Right.
And that's just how because it kind of screws a lot of people over on those Olympic years.
So are you eating like no carb diets and stuff like that? Like raw eggs out of the freaking shell? Like what?
Rocky style?
Yeah.
No, there is a method behind it that you do. You have to cut the carbs out, more high protein, high fat, like healthy fat diets. That kind of really.
So a lot of avocados for you.
A lot of avocados. Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
You know about that. So a lot of water, a lot of electrolytes. You have to stay hydrated because the water loading when you have to, you're sweating a lot, and you have to water load properly because that's what you drop a lot of weight quickly.
Right.
Hey, I could show you how to lose weight. I could show you how, not long-term weight loss, short-term weight loss. It's different.
Does it involve a sauna?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Saunas are great, but you don't want to overdo it because it'll burn you out.
Dehydrate and like die? Yeah.
Yes. But there are times I have to go in there, the plastic suits and jog, get in the sauna, sweat, take it off.
No.
Little baby oil on. You sweat. It opens your pores.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yep.
So what's more important, technique or mass? Because there's some people who are in your weight class that might look bigger, but that doesn't mean that
technique is for sure the most important. Right now, I'm one of the biggest guys in my weight class, like I said. But 4 out of 5 of us who are qualified already for Tokyo,
Okay.
4 of us are 61 kilo guys naturally, and only one of them is a 57 kilo naturally guy. Like that's always wrestles that weight, while the other rest of us will wrestle 61 all the years, and then we're coming down just for this past Worlds and this Olympics for the qualification reasons.
Right. What do you usually do to prepare for such a big championship like that? Yes, there's diet involved in it, but training-wise, how often do you train? How long do you train? And what is involved in the training? That makes it so special.
Yeah, usually I train like 8 to 10 times a week, whether that be wrestling, lifting, and conditioning.
Okay.
So usually I wrestle 4 to 5 times a week. Maybe right now it's less, but let's just say it's kind of like a general, I'm building into it, but let's say I'm in a general training phase. Like last week we had a camp, I wrestled probably like 5 to 6 times last week. The other times I'm doing 2 lifts to 3 lifts a week. 3 right now, but when I get closer to cutting weight, I drop the lifts. I can't be lifting as much weight. I kind of have to be smarter on that.
Right.
You know, twice a week for more mobility, range things, less, impact and more focus on keeping the joints strong.
For sure.
And then the wrestling, depending on the style of or not style, but the time of competition, sometimes we need to do more longer, more endurance-based training in the beginning to kind of build that block up of cardio. Sometimes you need to focus on speed and strength. Sometimes you just need to have matches. Some days you need simulation matches.
Right.
So it really depends on you have to cycle properly for an event. Do you usually study like how other players that you've versed in the past do their thing? Yeah. It's important to kind of know what other wrestlers are going to be doing because they're your competitors. You kind of have to know what you're going to do and how your tactics are going to do.
Right.
And right now, like going up to the last year, that was important. And now more important than ever, it's going to be I'm the guy to beat for the Olympics. I'm going to be going in as the guy to beat the reigning champ. What do I have to do to adjust myself to move up a level while people are trying to study me,
right,
and while still studying my opponents?
Right. So I did get a glimpse on your YouTube channel where you actually put some of your training videos in there, and showcase like what you usually do in a typical day. Like that's intense. Like the floor is wet.
Literally
like
sweating.
Legit sweating all over the place. It's like, how are you not slipping over your own sludge?
You do sometimes. You really do. But yeah, I mean, wrestling is it's a hard sport. Physically, it's probably one of the hardest sports because it's not only like exhausting, it's like mentally tough and physically straining, like as in just like.
Right, because you have to pay attention. If he's going
and
left,
technique,
I'm going left.
Timing,
right.
Speed, your tactics, strategy, your brain, like confidence. And the thing at the end of the day, it's only you to blame.
Right.
Whether you win or lose, you're the only person that goes out there and who's accountable.
For sure.
Right?
Right.
So that's not something in a team sport that can always be shown.
So with the YouTube channel, do you want to sort of like vlog your journey from here on out?
We just were able to get a videographer who wrestled. He's actually does a very good job, and he, kind of having him local is nice. So now I have a lot of content, and he really had the idea of like getting me a YouTube channel. So luckily we had a different guy that came in and did like a little mini doc on me, kind of like one of those UFC embedded series where you check in on someone 10 days, 14 days out, 21 days out before a fight, and they just kind of, from afar you can see what they're doing. That's kind of what that first one was, and the reason I used that footage was because it was like, it ended up working perfectly where I ended up going and winning the gold medal.
Right.
So it was like, this is going to be the perfect video for our first video for the channel, to then now go into strike while the iron's hot. We're posting some vlog content as I prepare.
Yeah.
Now I have a guy that's recording and showing me on a weekly or daily or weekly basis of me preparing for the Olympic Games in 2024.
Is he also editing for you too?
Yeah, he edits and makes the content. He does a great job. So
nice.
I'm releasing another one tomorrow. So right now it's kind of like every Friday we're trying to put out a video. First video is doing pretty well, so it's exciting.
Yeah, don't give away too many trade secrets. When can we catch you next? You said August is the 2024 Olympics, right?
Yes, it's I think it's like the 22nd, 23rd, sometime like that's the opening ceremonies. Wrestling's always at the end of the game, so probably toward I think I'm like the 8th, 9th, or 9th and 10th, something like that. It's 2 days. So I'll be in August. And that's like the goal. So we're kind of preparing. I'm probably going to try to compete once February, March, sometime around then. Maybe Europska prvenstva. I'm not sure though what I'm going to do. Or I'll probably do something there, and then in June, probably something around 2 months before to kind of give a little tune-up, nothing crazy, feel good, get on the mat, get some tweaks out, and then we can make some adjustments going into the Olympic Games before we move out for the camp.
Speaking of the mat, Stevan's going to actually show me a thing or two on the mat. Let's see if I'm going to break my neck. Stick around.